Welcome to Full Scope, a podcast with two guys in their 20s, giving their perspective on the games that we love and the story behind it all. I'm your host, Williams Burns, and my counterpart, Savon Morris, was not able to be here tonight, but I'm joined once again by a special guest, Micah McDonald, a former high school and college classmate of mine. Thanks for being on again.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate it for having me again. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, man. Well, to start things off tonight, there were, a slew of trades that happened today. And, I think one of the biggest ones Wednesday morning was the Clippers trading Tobias Harris
right.
to the Sixers and the Sixers trading away Muscala, Mike Scott, and, I believe another pick. And they also traded, Markelle Fultz to Orlando later today. Right. And this is a trade with Philly. I mean, their starting lineup was already, just loaded and star heavy laden. But now it's, it's probably one of the deepest, if not the best, starting lineup in the East. And I'm not saying that I'm not saying that they're the favorites in the East, but their starting lineup is that good. And now you have a player in Tobias Harris where he's an extremely good shooter, a versatile scorer. Probably the one big issue that they still have is their wing depth and guard depth. Like I think the guard depth is the thing that TJ McConnell is still going to have to play heavy minutes because the guard issue is still something that they haven't addressed. But Wesley Matthews is still available. But with this trade for Philly, first of all, what are your thoughts for Philly and also the Clippers? Because, they now have they're obviously going to take a back seat in terms of the playoff race. But this offseason, they can make a run for a free agent.
Right. So, I mean, it was shocking to me. I wasn't expecting Tobias Harris to be traded because he's their best player, first of all.
Yeah.
By far, there's nobody that comes close to Tobias Harris when it comes to the Los Angeles Clippers. He has been consistent for them all year. He's been doing everything for them and really kept them in a position to make it into the playoffs. And so when I saw this trade, first of all, I thought, oh my goodness, the Sixers are scary. Mm-hmm. And then I thought, what are the Clippers doing? Now, I mean, they got a rookie sharpshooter in Landry Shamet, which is something that I'm wondering on why the Sixers gave him away, because that's something that they've really struggled with is shooting.
Yeah.
And outside shooting. And Landry Shamet is a sharpshooter. That's how he was in college, and that's how he should have been there. But so I'm wondering about that, but I know Tobias Harris can hit. So it just brings his versatility. I mean, this starting lineup is something to behold because you've got Embiid down there. Now you have Tobias Harris who can be a force. Both of their forwards and their center are not just down low players, but they can hit the outside shot when they need to. And Tobias Harris is a type of forward that can ball handle and that can drive to the paint where not a lot of forwards can do that. And so there's going to be mismatches on whoever he's getting guarded by, and that's why he's been able to succeed this season and last season, is because he's able to start from the outside and take it inside on these forwards that aren't quick, but he's got the handles and the quickness to be able to do that. So, I mean, the Sixers are done waiting around to do something. They are buying into everything right now. And I don't know if you saw, but their odds to win the East doubled. And they're up to second now behind Boston Celtics to win the Eastern Conference just because of that trade alone.
Wow.
And so that was shocking to me, but it isn't really. And I'm a guy who's always loved TJ McConnell. He's always been a consistent player. He's always done what he's had to do. Now he's not a superstar. He's not a star by any means, but he's consistent. He does what he has to do and he gets it done. And maybe not the flashiest way, but he's the type of player that while he's not a star or a superstar, he's a dependable, reliable player, and you know what you're going to get out of him. And he's consistent in doing what he's supposed to do every night. So I think he deserves the better role and the more role. And going on the Markelle Fultz trade, finally something happened with him.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's playing. Something needed to be done.
He needed a restart. He needed a restart.
I don't
There's no
remember if it was
expectation in Orlando right now.
exactly. I don't know if it was the first time we talked or the second time, but we brought up Markel. I was like, he needs to get out of there.
Yeah.
And because nothing's happening for him there. Nothing is. I mean, everything was just weird. I've never seen anything like what happened with him since watching basketball, especially going on in the shooting form and just how catastrophically terrible it was, and just what was going on, the confusion, the mystery behind it all. And so hopefully this will give him a new start. I don't care for Markel Fultz. He's not on my radar. I don't hate him, but I don't like him. He doesn't matter to me because he's not made an impact on the league. So he's just there. So I'm hoping that something happens with him. I'm hoping that he picks it up so he can live up to his pick, live up to be the number one pick.
Yeah, you at least want him to get close to live up to it and not just be like
right.
a complete castaway.
You don't want to be like a Kwame Brown. You don't want to be like
or Anthony Bennett.
Anthony Bennett. Well, see, the difference between those two is Anthony Bennett. Everybody knew he should not have been a number one.
Yeah, exactly. That was the most obvious. Like, hey, this is not right. You know, like this is not the smartest number one pick. But with Philly, in terms of Jimmy Butler and his future with the team and the possibility of a 5-year, $190 million max. How much of this do you think, a move to be like, hey, if we don't keep Butler, at least we also have Tobias Harris and Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, and we're not just left with just Simmons and Embiid. Like, how confident are you in with the future of Jimmy Butler? And do you think that was something that was kind of categorized in this move?
Yeah, I'm not confident at all in Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler is the type of player that wants what he wants when he wants it, and he's gonna throw the fit until he gets what he wants.
Right.
And that's what he did to get that move to Philly. I didn't like it. I didn't like how he treated the fan base, how he treated the people there when he was in Minnesota. I didn't like the way he conducted himself as not just a basketball player but a professional and as a person. I didn't like the way that he handled that. So I don't know I don't know, but I think Tobias Harris was a genius move. Number one, hey, look, Jimmy, we're buying into everything here. Stay here. Or if you leave, we have somebody that can do just what you can do. And Tobias Harris, while he's a star, he's still one of the most underrated stars in the league. And I don't know if it's just because he played in at the Clippers, but while he's a great player and he's consistent and he's all-star caliber player, people still don't talk about Tobias Harris. So adding him, I think, shows them, look, we're buying into you, Jimmy, but we're also buying into, if you leave, we have this cushion, we have somebody to replace you. And so I think as a test, we'll see what Jimmy picks up on that, what Jimmy takes from this trade. But another thing I want to draw out with the Markel Fultz trade is that they're getting Jonathan Simmons.
Yeah.
Now Jonathan Simmons he had a breakout year as a 26-year-old with the San Antonio
Hasn't had a good
Spurs.
season this year though.
Well, look where he is,
Yeah.
And so, but with this with being with Brett Brown, who is a great coach, and he's still yet to burst through the top and really get up into the great coach. I mean, he's a good coach, but he's not a superstar coach. But
if there's a hierarchy of the coaches in terms of the East, like Budenholzer, Brad Stevens, and Nick Nurse, like where do you rank Brett Brown in that like coaching tree of the East?
I mean, there's not many coaches that you have to pass in the East, and that's the problem.
Right. Yeah.
You have Stevens at top by far. He's the next Greg Popovich. He's going to be an all-time great coach who's going to win a lot of games. He's going to win championships.
Mm-hmm.
Just by the way that he's able to mold players and bring players to be the best of themselves. Just like Pop did, just like Auerbach did, just like Phil Jackson did as coach. And so you got Brad Stevens at the top, Budenholzer under him, just because of what he's been able to do. Nick Nurse, but you have a phenomenal team around you. You should not lose. Like you have to be a terrible.
He's
you have
set
to be
up very
a terrible
well.
coach, right? You have to be a terrible coach to really ruin that kind of team. He coached Detroit, if I'm wrong, Am I wrong about that? Did he coach Detroit before the season?
He did, yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, he didn't really do anything there. But what you saw with Brad Stevens is he took an okay Celtics team and he made them to be contenders. What you're seeing with Brett Brown and the system around Brett Brown is he's taking this team that has struggled, but he's buying into this system. Well, yes, it's the process, trust the process, but he's doing his work along with the GM and the owners who are trying to get these players. But he's giving his input. He's doing what he has to do, but he also has to find a way, just like Steve Kerr has to find 4 or 5 superstars that can work together. And so this we'll see what's going to happen, because before you had 3, you had Simmons, Embiid, and Jimmy Butler. And so 3 you can work with most of the time. But now you bring in a 4th superstar. So now we're getting in the realm of, okay, can you do what Steve Kerr can do? So I think it's a testament. I think Brett Brown is 3rd in the coaching tier of the East, just because there's really nobody else that can pull their team to a contender. But I think his testament, he could go above Budenholzer if he really shapes his team, because it takes a really good coach that is respected and that can get 4 superstars to work with each other. And I think that's a testament to the coach and not simply just the players that he coaches. And so Brett Brown, I mean, this is going to be his time. This is his time to show us if he's a great coach or not. That's just when it happened. But with Jonathan Simmons, I mean, you have a good player. He's not great. He's not terrible, but he's a solid player that if you put him in the right system, as you saw in San Antonio, he can really, really flourish. And he can really be effective and really be good as a good role player. So when you have to take Ben Simmons out, or you have to take Jimmy Butler out, put Jonathan Simmons in. He'll do the work for you. And I think it'll also take a load off of TJ McConnell, because he won't have to do as much with Jonathan Simmons next to him, if Jonathan Simmons gets integrated into the system well. And so, I mean, I'm not a Philly fan, but I'm excited to see what Brett Brown can do with this caliber of a team.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Transitioning to the Porzingis trade to Dallas, with the Knicks, like it was like one of the quickest turnarounds, because like Porzingis, had the concerns about the direction of the organization,
right,
and wanting to depart, and just like that afternoon he was gone to Dallas, and then the Knicks get Dennis Smith Jr. and DeAndre Jordan, and Porzingis probably won't play probably for any part of the rest of the season, but just the possibility of him and Doncic long term being the next great European duo, and two of the biggest in terms of the like a under 25 duo. That's about as close as that's about as good as it gets in terms of that potential. And there still are some defensive elements in terms of the team overall, and they gave up Harrison Barnes to Sacramento last night.
Right.
But in terms of what New York did, because New York they've got a big summer in terms of possibly KD going there. There are rumblings of Kyrie, but there's possibilities, and I don't think they'd give up Porzingis if they didn't think they'd have a shot at least one of those free agents. But what were your thoughts overall in terms of the trade and the possibility of Porzingis in Dallas long term?
So when they traded for Porzingis, I felt that the Mavericks were making moves to do something, and I'm thinking you have Doncic, you have Harrison Barnes, and you have Kristaps Porzingis. I think that's a pretty solid for next year. That's a pretty solid 3 people that you want to have, and so it was kind of weird to me when they did the trade with the Sacramento Kings for Justin Jackson, Zach Randolph. Now Justin Jackson, I mean, I love Justin Jackson because UNC, okay?
UNC, of course.
Okay. But even watching Justin Jackson at UNC, he was kind of a Manu Ginobili for me, because I'm scared of what he's going to do next, because it's either going to be really stupid or really good.
Or really crafty.
And so I'm confused on this trade, because Zach Randolph's old. He's not at his caliber anymore. He's not as effective as he could be. So you're trading one of your best players for for a for an old veteran who doesn't really do much anymore, and a unknown in the league who didn't even he didn't start in Sacramento. I mean, so I'm confused on the trade because I thought that what they're going to do was try to build around those three. But Mark Cuban he was in an interview or something, and he was talking about Dirk Nowitzki and Steve Nash when he had him. He said, "I wish I would have kept him longer, and I'm not going to mess this one up." And so when he traded Kristaps, he immediately started talking to Kristaps about a long-term deal because he said, "I'm not messing this one. I'm not losing this opportunity. Like I wish I had Steve Nash and Dirk Nowitzki together longer, and I'm not messing up on this opportunity." So I think it's a testament to what they're really trying to do. And I think having that out in the media and having that out to the public, I think obviously Kristaps is going to see that, and obviously Doncic is going to see that. And I think it's going to give them faith in the organization that this organization is now going to be built around you two young players. And so I think it gives them a sense of security of where they are. But I also think it gives them a sense of, okay, they believe in what we can do.
Right.
Now, it's not as a non-testament to the other players on the team, because first of all, they don't have the bench to save their lives. And just the iffiness in the lineup, especially after all the bad things that was happening with Dennis Smith, Dennis
Smith wasn't the ideal fit. He wasn't the ideal fit with Doncic in terms of being a ball dominant guy.
Yeah, I understand, but I mean, Dennis Smith was frustrated with the organization, but the organization was really trying to work with Dennis Smith and fix it, and they were very vocal about that. So I mean, all this trade speculation or this free agent speculation for the Knicks of they're going to get Kyrie and KD, and then they're going to try to draft Zion Williamson and. I mean, Katie said the other night.
The Kyrie factor, I'm not sure of that, but the KD element, I do think there's a possibility there. And it's crazy to me because it's like, what do the Knicks really have to offer in terms of their organizational consistency? Because they don't really have any. But in terms of, I think the element that's alluring to KD is the fact that, hey, if you bring back what once was the mega basketball to relevance, like, your legacy skyrockets even more than it did in terms of winning 2 straight, or after this year, if he wins 3 straight finals.
Right. And I mean, the Knicks were just rated the most, I don't know if it was most expensive, but it would cost the most to buy this team was the Knicks. But KD said, I think it was yesterday, he was in an interview with me. It's like, y'all just need to stop. Like, I'm sick and tired of you talking about these trades or free agent speculation. Like, let me just play my game. Talk about the game. I want to go to the gym and go home. Like, y'all are really irritating me by talking about this when I'm just trying to play ball, and you guys won't let up on this. And so
his relationship with the media has soured significantly because I think the perception of him has just changed drastically.
Well, I think actually on this level, as I agree with him wholeheartedly, because what this does and what the Pelicans did to the Lakers is something that I'd never seen before. And I can't remember his name. He's Windhorst. He said he's never seen Windhorst. He's never seen anything like it before. Yeah. They were throwing these trades out to disrupt, as we saw when the Golden State Warriors absolutely destroyed Lakers, and then Indiana beat up on them. And you heard all the Indiana fans cheering these different chants when Chandler was at the line and Ingram was at the line, right? And so that's something that's confusing to me because they never intended ever to trade Anthony Davis ever.
But don't you think the fact that it was I feel as though they would have traded him to anywhere but LA. Like, they really just did not want him to go to the Lakers because of the fact that to me, like, the Rich Paul element also played in there. The fact that, okay, this is LeBron's agent. This is also Davis's agent.
Right.
Like, we don't want them to pull this off. But also the fact that Boston, to me, like Boston's offer in the summer is going to trump anything that LA could have offered right now.
Yeah, and yeah. So I think they would have traded to any other team other than Lakers.
Yeah,
they were not considering Lakers, but you saw what the Lakers offered them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're uprooting your whole organization for Anthony Davis, and obviously Anthony Davis is a superstar and a one-of-a-kind talent, but to give away Kyle Kuzma, Lonzo Ball, Zubac, who's had actually a really, really good season. He's really come out and done really well for them this season, and some other players, and and so I'm confused at why the Pelicans did what they did. But back to the Knicks. I mean, with Kevin Durant, I think it's very likely that he could go to the Knicks, but I also think with how upset he is at the media, I think just despite them, he might stay there another year. I think that's a possibility, just because he's sick of what they're doing. And I don't know the possibility of a Kyrie going there, but I think there's pull for both of them, and especially if Kevin Durant does decide to go there, and the Knicks have, say, a top 5 pick. Who in the top 5 do you have? You've got Zion, you've got RJ Barrett, you've got Cam Reddish, you've got, for some reason, my boy from North Carolina, who I'm blanking on the name.
Currently,
he was a freshman. Oh wow! But either way, what's that?
Is it Theo Pinson?
No. He's currently at North Carolina.
Currently.
So yeah, currently. So in the draft, I'm talking about the draft prospect. If they get a top 5 picks, which is most likely, you have Zion Williamson, you have Cam Reddish, you have RJ Barrett as potential picks. So I think it's a draw for, especially if Kevin Durant goes there, it's a draw for Kyrie Irving to say, okay, now what we can look at is we've got Kevin Durant here, and say we get we get third in the draft and we get Cam Reddish, and so we pick up Cam Reddish, and okay, Kyrie, look at the team that we can put now, because now we actually have DeAndre Jordan, who's a solid center. So we have a defensive center who's going to protect us from the inside, and he can do some posts. He's a traditional center, but now we have, well, we need you. You're the missing piece, because we've got KD, and now either we get the guy I'm thinking is Nasser Little. I couldn't remember his name.
Okay, yeah.
The thing is with Nasser Little is I don't understand why he's top 5 when he doesn't even start for North Carolina.
Exactly.
And he hasn't been good this season. He hasn't lived up to his potential. But those players, especially those Duke players, or you have the likes of Ja Morant, who's absolutely tearing it up at Murray State and just destroying everybody. Those guys, when you get that rookie and saying, look what we can do, all we need is you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it would be hard to leave Boston, because you're not going to get a coach like that anywhere else that is been able to mold this team like he has.
I think it'd be pretty surprising if he left Boston.
I totally agree with that. I 100% agree with that. But I think if he were to go anywhere, it would be to the Knicks if Kevin Durant went, and depending on the draft. I think DeAndre Jordan is a boost to their appeal, just because of what he can do on the inside defensively.
So you think that they would keep Jordan?
I think they should. I don't know if they will, but I think they should. I think it's beneficial to them to keep Jordan, because now, especially since you don't have Porzingis, who are you going to get to play on the inside? You're not going to get Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is not going to go to you. So you don't really have an outlet to have this prominent, especially defensive presence inside. But now, so you have him. If you get Kevin Durant, you get one of the rookies that is coming in next year. Then you have Dennis Smith Jr. I mean, you got a pretty decent starting lineup, and that's without Kyrie Irving. And so, I think that's the draw, is we're complete here, but we need just one missing piece. But I don't see him leaving Boston. It will be surprising to me, But I think of the one team that he would leave to go to, it would be New York.
Yeah, I would definitely think so too, because the first domino to fall would be if Durant makes a decision to go there, and
That's
then
the only way he'll go.
Yeah,
That's the only way.
That's exactly if that happens, and there's a chance that they could pair up. But overall, yeah, go ahead.
So here's a scary thing with them though, is with this trade of Porzingis, they now have the ability to get 2 max contracts in the offseason and still have room to spare. If they got Kyrie and Kevin Durant, they have $2.2 million to spare in their salary cap. And you'll also now John Wall was in the picture. No, wait, it was Kemba Walker. Kemba Walker is going to be in the picture. So if you don't get Kyrie, you can get Kemba. And so there's plenty. You can the advantage with the Knicks now is say, okay, we've got these guys, we'll get this rookie, and any 2 of you, all superstars that are out there in free agency, pick who you want to play with and come to us because we can afford you, and that's a draw. And also the draw of playing in Madison Square and being a Knick and this storied franchise is not only can you play in Madison Square Garden 41 games a year, but you have these players around you now that we've built, and you can pick any superstar you want to come in here and just talk to them, bring them in with you, and we've got it. And that's a draw, and that's something that they can work with, and that's something that is advantageous for them right now. So we'll just have to see if they can convince people to come to them in the off season.
Yeah.
But they can get 2 superstars, and it's going to be crazy if they do.
Yeah, definitely. But overall with the trade deadline, the Gasol going to Toronto,
right.
Mirotic to Milwaukee, obviously Harris to the Sixers, and there were definitely some impact moves in terms of, because I feel like the especially Milwaukee, Toronto, and Philly, like they really made all-in type moves in terms of what they were trying to go in terms of making a run this postseason. But what to you was kind of like the most impressive trade as the deadline was wrapped up today?
By far, the 76ers won, by far. But I'm also really intrigued on the Bucks getting Mirotic. Now Mirotic, he started out the season really, really great. He's had some injury problems this season. But again, with the Bucks, I mean, who is already leading the conference, and now you pick up a solid player in Nikola Mirotic, giving up for Jason Smith and Stanley Johnson and 4 second-round picks. Now the picks are what did him in, but you gave up 2 nobodies for a star player who's been really consistent and doing what he does, barring the injuries that he's had this season. So, I mean, I don't know why the Pelicans did that, to be honest. Obviously, the Pelicans and the Clippers right now, they're looking for the future, and they're looking for draft stock, and they're looking to get those. But even then, these are second-round picks. So it's not like you're getting a guaranteed lottery pick in the first round. You're getting a second-round pick, so all the stars are done away with. Now you just got to pick off who you can pick off. So while they will get 4 young prospects, they're the second-round picks. They're not the things that they're not the guys that really jump out at you. They're just guys, okay, they're remaining, so we'll pick them. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, but with the Clippers, I think they got 2 first-round picks, right? And 2 second-round over the next 3 years. So the Clippers, I think, while first glance, you're like, what are you doing? But now you're looking at the future, and hopefully they can make the right calls in the draft and really groom these players to be what they can be. But what we're seeing now is we're seeing teams that are low giving up their best players to get picks, or not specifically best player, but great players on your team that are significant on your team that you need them to win. You're now seeing them tank, and for the likes of Zion Williamson, for the likes of R.J. Barrett, for the likes of Nasser Little, John Morant, Cam Reddish, those players, You're seeing them try to tank for these players, so you can build your future around them. So, but for me, it's the 76ers, and they absolutely won that trade. Tobias Harris is worth what they gave up. With, for me, the exception of Landry Shamet, they should have kept him. They need that shooting presence. But he's worth the picks. He's been consistent all season, and now he's in a role where he doesn't have to do so much. So now you preserve him, and while he's not gonna,
who's gonna guard their, like, because in terms of them not having the depth at the guard position, who do you think is gonna, like, in crunch time situations during the postseason, like who do you think guards the other player's best guard or best player? Do you think that, like, that automatically goes to Butler?
I would say so, unless it's a guard.
Yeah.
Because even then, I mean, TJ McConnell is a pretty fierce defender, and not a lot of people know it. And Jonathan Simmons is a not an elite defender, but he's a great defender as well. And so, I wouldn't put Jonathan Simmons in the game to solely guard him, but TJ McConnell, like, everybody skips over TJ McConnell for everything, but he's been put in crunch time positions before. He knows what he's doing. Especially in Philly, he's had to do it before. So you're not going to rely on Ben Simmons in the final minutes. Jimmy's already shown that you can rely on him in the final minutes. With the addition of Tobias Harris, is the unique thing about Tobias Harris, and he can guard almost every position.
Mm-hmm.
With the exception of a uber big man like an Anthony Davis, which now he doesn't really have to play against him because he's in the Eastern Conference. So you're loosening, you're lessening the load on the three core players that the 76ers were bringing in Tobias Harris, while also significantly lessening the role of Tobias Harris, because now you have three superstars and it's not just you. But you're hopeful that, and that's the one thing that I'm worried about, is because Tobias Harris, he was the man in LA. He was the man for the Clippers. He did everything. Everything goes through Tobias Harris. But now you've got established players in Philly, especially Joel Embiid, who gets 37 seemingly almost far too often for a big man to be scoring 37 points,
Right.
And so you have him, you have Simmons, who's a facilitator, and you have Jimmy Butler, who wants the ball. And so you bring in Tobias Harris, who's used to having the ball the whole time. So this is why I'm really cracking down on Brett Brown to see if he can work this system in.
Because that's the thing with Philly. Philly has a big three that they really have to find out just how to mesh together, almost not perfectly, but near perfectly. Because if Embiid doesn't get his touches, like we saw in the Christmas Day in the Christmas Day game overtime, lost against Boston, he's going to be upset.
I should have gotten the ball more. Right.
Exactly. So there's always going to be like just kind of the give and go of like who should we run our offense through, and like who gets the shots and crunch time situations. And I think like that's the thing with Philly is like, can the big three like mesh and they're like assigned roles and not try to collide, because that's when Embiid wants his touches and is not getting it, that's a hazard in and of itself.
Right. And so I think if we draw the correlation outside to the West with the Warriors, and all the speculation around will DeMarcus Cousins be able to gel into the system as a former superstar, and you saw immediately he gelled right into the system.
Right.
And I'm not talking like 3 games later, but the first game. And that's when it started getting scary. Because now you have 5 superstars, all-stars of last year, playing seamlessly together. And that, first of all, that's a testament to Steve Kerr and just how great of a coach he is. Because it is before this team, it seemed almost impossible to have 3 players together to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
now you've got 5.
Right, and now you got not just you don't have 3 superstars and 2 stars. You got 5 superstars, and I give Clay all the credit. He's a superstar. Draymond is a superstar, especially on the defensive end. You'll find only one person better, and that's Kawhi Leonard. And so that team is incredible. And so now what you have here is you've got a superstar in Joel Embiid. You've got and now you have 3 stars. They're not superstars, but they're still stars. And yeah. I've never put Jimmy Butler on the echelon of a superstar. He's always just been a star to me. But Ben Simmons is on the lower rung of stars because he can't score the ball. He can't shoot the ball. And that's something that's going to prohibit him from being a superstar in the league because he's got that limitation on him offensively. And now you have Tobias Harris, who was a superstar on his team, but now he's a star here. And we'll see if he can actually be that superstar. But even then, you've got 4 at minimum stars. You have 3 at minimum stars and 1 superstar on your team. Now, Brett Brown, what can you do with it? And I think this is a make or break moment for Brett Brown if he can't get this team into the Eastern Conference Finals. And if he doesn't do that, if they lose in the second
round again,
right?
How do you see the state of Philly after that?
I wouldn't be surprised if Philly would be calling for his head and saying, "Okay, we need somebody better."
All right. So conference finals is kind of what you would expect from this team.
You have to with this team. Yeah. You have to. I mean, it would be, and that's it's difficult, especially now because before all you really had was Cleveland.
Now you've got
Cleveland was the only one, but now you've got 3 other teams. Yeah. I mean, Indiana's not in the running now because Oladipo's out, and that's saddening because Oladipo, I mean, one of the most genuine guys in the league, and everybody in the league will tell you that. And I mean, I think it was him who the Warriors wore those shirts for. Am I right? Or
right.
I think, yeah. And I've never seen anything like that before. And so everybody around the league loves Oladipo. So it's really rough to see that happening because he's probably not going to be fully ready for in 2 seasons. Yeah, it'll probably take him a whole other season to really be 100%. And so you've got 4 teams in the league in the Eastern Conference that are expected to make the conference finals, but only 2 can make it. And so I think the team who has the less on them is, while they have the greatest odds to win the Eastern Conference, is Boston. Because just of how they started the season. And it was like, okay, they're still struggling. Now they're finding their zen. They're finding Kyrie's playing incredible. Yeah. He's having incredible stretch. And their chemistry has come together really well, which is actually one of the points that we were going to talk about. So transitioning into that, Kyrie playing excellent. The team's finally gelling together.
I believe they've won 10 of their last 12.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't expecting them to struggle as much as they did in the season, but the key right now is to find Gordon Hayward.
Right.
Now, Gordon Hayward isn't playing bad, but you need, as Brad Stevens, to me, he's a great coach. But if you want to be an all-time great, you need to find what Gordon Hayward needs to do. Because you've got a superstar in a team that still hasn't found himself. And is still searching for himself after the injury. And where are you going to put him in there, And so they've got to figure that out. They've got to figure out what they're going to do with Gordon Hayward. And I think it should be easier for Brad Stevens because he coached Hayward in college, And so it should be easier for him. So I think in any other circumstance, it might be even more of a turmoil, but I think he's lucky to have Brad Stevens as his coach in this instance. But you've got these 4 teams, again, that are all expected to make the conference. Like, if you say which teams, I would say right now, 76ers and the Raptors need to make it. But also the Bucks need to make it, and also the Celtics need to make it. Like, it's hard to pick
that's
with those.
The thing. To me, like, the Bucks, I really like what the Bucks did with Mirotić. Because
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, the spacing is just incredible on that team, and Giannis is he's from the start of the season really struggled from the perimeter. He's kind of developed a perimeter shot as the
Yes.
season
Yes, he
progresses,
has.
which that is extremely
That
frightening
was the one
the
thing
league.
that people were arguing about him, saying he's not going to be a great player until he can shoot the ball. Oh, look, he can shoot the ball.
Yeah, and yeah.
Yeah.
So
He's
I
a
mean,
freak. You
yeah,
know.
exactly. That element's there. But with the Raptors, this is like a 1 year audition to really show Kawhi, hey, like this is why you should stay here. So Toronto
Right,
has
yeah,
that
no.
pressure. Philly, I mean, we've already talked about their starting lineup. Like it's bonkers. It's out of this world. And then with Boston, having two All-Stars come back and being so close last year, and not getting there this year would be a huge damper and possibly put a huge cloud over Kyrie's future in Boston. So
yes,
but like you said, Philly, yeah, the conference finals is definitely an expectation for them right now.
Yes, especially this trade is saying, okay, we finished the process. Like this is the team we want.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of the exclamation point on years and years of turmoil and of bad decision making, and finally getting a good team together. It's like, okay, we've got this guy. Let's do this. This is the year. This year, and that's kind of the exclamation point they did having a not they could have done a trade early in the season, but they did it in a trade deadline it will get the most publicity. It'll get during all the craziness. This is our make or break move, and you saw 3 of the top 4 teams of the East make or break moves, and so, I mean I'm still sticking my preseason pick to go to the finals was the Celtics, and I'm still sticking with them.
Mm-hmm.
While I'm
would you still say that depth is kind of the overwhelming thing that kind of gives you the edge to pick them?
Yeah, and while it may be 1 year experience for these young players, they've got the experience to be there.
Right.
And then but they also have the revenge factor. Like we were so close. We were so close to getting there. We should have gotten there. There's no way we should have lost to them, And so I'm staying with them mainly because of Brad Stevens as a coach. I've got the highest respect for Brad Stevens, mainly because him as a coach, and then secondly because of the experience of the younger players, and now having the two best players on the team back that they didn't have the year before. And so I think I'm still picking them. I'm not as confident as I was in the preseason just because of all the struggles that they've had this year. But I'm still sticking with them.
And then all the moves Milwaukee, Philly, and Toronto have made.
Yeah.
Like the top of the East is very strong.
But besides them, I would pick the Bucks.
Really?
I don't think 76ers are going to get there. Now they could shock me, but solely because
so that's your second East bet to get to the finals.
Solely because I don't know if the whole thing with Brett Brown, I was like, I don't know if he can have this team gel like they need to. I don't know if Jimmy Butler can calm himself enough to have a team work. I don't know if Joel Embiid can shut his mouth enough to have this team work.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to take teamwork. And I keep going back to the Warriors, but you see this is the quintessential way of how to have superstars lower themselves for the betterment of the team. And Jimmy Butler and Joel Embiid need to learn that before this team can do that. And I don't see that happening. Now they could shock me, and we'll see what happens. We'll see going into the All-Star break and a couple weeks after. We'll see if Tobias Harris can really get in there. We'll see how well they do.
Right.
But I think the system with the Bucks, having not just Giannis but an All-Star in Chris Middleton, who
very underrated player.
I think finally got his due.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been so consistent over the past several years, especially in his 3-point shooting. But he's now become an all-around player, and he has finally got the credit he deserves. And I'm happy that Chris Middleton finally got the All-Star vote, because he deserves every single bit of it.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're bringing in Nikola Mirotic, and now you have these solid players around you, Dario Saric, and so I think it's theirs to lose right now,
right? Because
they are first. I think Boston has some work, but they're still my first pick. But I think for who's to lose, I think it's the Bucks, even though they don't have all the hype. Like they're fourth in the odds, to win the Eastern Conference Finals. That's how much people are on them, you know. But I mean, they've got a good system, and they're really buying into Giannis and putting everybody around Giannis that'll make Giannis better. And Giannis is superstar that he is. I mean, he's the MVP of the league. And I said it preseason, I'm saying it during season, and I'll say it to the end of the season. And if he doesn't win MVP, I'm going to be furious.
So you're not going hard.
Knock it off, okay? No, I absolutely 100% agree with what Kobe Bryant said about James Harden. You can never win a championship with this team. You can't do it. You can't. And
I mean, but my thing is what he did with what he did that month was just staggering.
It's incredible. Absolutely.
Absolutely. I mean, like you have to admit, like what he was doing.
Yeah, but when
in terms
you
of the
push
scoring
up,
tier was great.
When you push off and travel all the time, you're going to be able to get the points. You know, I'm messing around with that, obviously, but but it's a testament to his greatness as an offensive player. And what I've seen really this year is he's made some good defensive plays.
Right,
and you don't see that
the block on Kawhi a couple games ago.
Yeah, and I mean, before this season, if you asked anybody who knew anything about basketball who the worst defensive player in the league is, everybody would have said James Harden. But he's shown himself, and I think it's a testament to how hard he's worked. To hey, I can actually play defense, and I don't remember any other time this year where you've seen the typical James Harden of standing there and letting a guy go by just because you didn't want to play defense, you know? So it's a testament to him and his greatness, and one of the best scorers to me that I've ever seen in my lifetime, because I've never seen anybody do what he's done. And so it seems like you know where you're going to get, but you can't stop him. And that's how greatness is. That's what greatness is. You know what you're going to get by this player, but he still dropped 50 on you. And that's what James Harden can do. And that's a testament to his scoring ability. And it's absolutely incredible what he's done. But it doesn't mean anything for the team in the long run. You're not going to win a championship ever with this team. You have a chance with Chris Paul if he takes more of the role in the position. And give the ball to Clint Capella more, because Clint Capella, while he's injured right now, and it's kind of hurting them, but you're never ever going to win a championship with this style of play, and James Harden needs to realize that.
Yeah,
because isn't the ultimate goal to win championships?
Yeah,
he needs to listen to Kobe. He needs to listen to him, and Kobe was absolutely right. And so, it's a testament to James Harden's greatness, but it's ultimately in the long run, it's not going to matter because he's not going to have any rings if it continues.
Yeah. Transitioning to John Wall and the Wizards, it came out that I think he ruptured his Achilles tendon and is going to be out for 12 months. And with,
rough.
Yeah, and they traded Otto Porter Jr. to the Bulls, and now they're in a position where, could they trade? I mean, Bill right now is their best asset outside of Wall, in addition of Porter leaving. And this is a team that for so many years we've said, okay, they're as talented as anybody in the East. I mean, they have as much talent as anybody in the East. And now, due to injury and due to, organizational, just inconsistency, these things have accumulated and piled up. But in terms of John Wall and also just the future of this organization, how do you see them kind of dealing with this offseason and what they have and Bradley Beal and any other, decisions with John Wall's future?
Man, it was very saddening to see that happen to John Wall. While I am not a Kentucky fan in the slightest, I've always loved John Wall. I've loved his work ethic. I've loved his character. I love the way that he's gone about the game, and to see that kind of unfortunate thing happen to that kind of a player, it's heartbreaking, and it's saddening to see something like that happen to such a not just a great player, but a good person. And so it's rough, but they shouldn't have been as bad as they have been. I think the organization is doing a disservice to the players that are there. They're not. I don't think they're a good organization. I think this trade might actually be one of the better decisions that they made, though, because if you think back, either last year or the year before, when the Bucks were making a run, who were they missing? Jabari Parker.
Yeah.
They were missing Jabari Parker, and he was the missing piece, and he was so distraught that he couldn't be there, because if he had been there, they would have made that run, and they would have become the East best team. But Jabari Parker was injured, and so Jabari Parker and Bobby Portis are in a system in Chicago where literally nothing is going on. I mean, they're 12-42 this year, and so now you put them in a system where, well, they're not technically better, but they're only 4 games out of 8th place, so they're not out of it.
The bottom half of the East is still wide open.
Yes, and so now you have a proven player in Jabari Parker who showed that he can be a great player in Milwaukee. Now you have Bobby Portis, who just has not been in a good system in Chicago with all the GM and the coach turmoils that's been there the past couple of years with the firing of Thibodeau and all of that went down, which to me was unexpected. I know they're bad, but Thibodeau, he didn't have anything to do with that. It was all the managerial aspects of giving him a terrible team. But now you're putting both of those guys into a system where you have all-star Bradley Beal around them. And I mean, I'm not saying they're going to make a run. I mean, I don't see that happening.
Right.
But you've got a proven player in Jabari Parker. You've got a up-and-comer in Bobby Portis who has the potential to break out and be a really, really great player. And you have Trevor Ariza, who's your defense for you. You have Thomas Satoransky, who's a decent guard. He's not amazing, but he's kind of a lesser TJ McConnell in a way, where he just does what he needs to do and get it done. And you've got I think Jeff Green is on the team, is he not?
He is.
I want to say so. You got that veteran who proved himself, who if you want anybody on your team that you need somebody to be shown character and hard work. I mean, just look at the life of Jeff Green, what he came back from.
Exactly.
And so you've got Ariza, Green, Beal, and now you've got Portis and
Jeff Green is the type of player who has the timely games at the most awkward moments, like in Game 7 against Boston. Like he had his
exactly
the best game of his life, just randomly. Looked like a proven vet, and
right. So you've got these players now, and well, they're not a great team,
right?
But you can get above the Heat, who I'm surprised traded. They made their trades. They traded Tyler Johnson and Wayne Ellington, I'm pretty sure.
Yes. And that's with the Sixers, I still feel like they could use another guard, like a Wesley Matthews or a Wayne Ellington type.
No, I would go for Wayne Ellington because Wesley Matthews was way too inconsistent. And so what that's actually intriguing, because I was reading up on Wayne Ellington because he's my boy from UNC. And his agent is working for him a way to get out of his contract so he can go to a playoff contender. And that's the team that I would like to see him go to, because who needs shooting the most? That's 76ers. And Wayne Ellington is a sharpshooter. And so if anybody could benefit from Wayne Ellington, it would be the 76ers. And if what is true, what they're saying, what the agent was reporting that agent is trying to do of getting him to a playoff contender, the East is – or the 76ers is a golden opportunity for Wayne Ellington. Golden. Yeah. But with Wayne Ellington gone, and now you've gotten rid of Tyler Johnson, who, to me, I mean, he hasn't been playing great, but he's been a really good player for them over the years, being molded under Dwayne Wade, and he's been there and been consistent for them. So they've got those two away, and so I think it's exciting to see. Now, I'm telling you, if Wayne Ellington goes to the 76ers, then it becomes scary as well. Now they're already scary, but now you've got a proven shooter on your team that has. I mean,
And
for the past couple of years, you've seen games that
as it is.
Yeah, you've seen him have games with 6, 7 threes in a game, and he lights it up for 30-something points. And he's had more consistency of those games over the last couple of years. And so, I don't remember who Miami got for that deal.
I don't.
No, they got Ryan Anderson. So that's something. I mean, he was good. He was good for New Orleans, especially in the playoffs. But for going back to John Wall and the Wizards, you've got Charlotte and the Heat at the bottom of the East, and those two teams are not hard to pass up. Again, you're only 4 games behind the Heat in the East, so it's not over for you. So this trade I think is a good trade. I think is one of the more underrated trades because of all the other trades that are happening with the contenders in the East. This isn't necessarily a trade to be a contender, but this is a trade to be in the playoffs.
Exactly.
And showing John Wall and showing Bradley Beal that, hey, I know we've messed up and I know we're not doing great this season, but I want to show you that we can get there and we can get into the playoffs with these two guys. And I think it's a way of showing, especially Andrew John Wall, who's going through a lot right now. Mm-hmm. And now he's showing who is now an all-star in Bradley Beal. Okay, please stay here. Okay, yeah. John Wall, stay with us. Work with us here. Now he's going to be out next season too. I mean, it would be foolish. It would be foolish to bring him back next season. I mean, he'll be recovered in 12 months, halfway through the season. But I think it would be foolish to not sit him out for the remaining 3 months. It just wouldn't be smart to play him and give him the rest. Let him be himself again. Let him be absolutely 100%. Because I'd rather have my guy recover in 12 months, rest 3 months, and then have the offseason than bring him back right after the recovery. And so,
yeah.
But I think this trade it's a testament to what they're trying to do. And saying, John Wall, Bradley Beal, we messed up, but this is something good for organization, and we'll see how well they gel into the system. Now, it's not going to be hard for these guys to gel into the system, but we'll see if they can make a push for the playoffs. And I think if they make the playoffs, it's a win for them.
Yeah, it's still possible for them to make. It's not out of the like. I think they're only 4 games of the 8 spot, like you said.
Right. I think if they make it, that's their goal this season, to make the playoffs.
Make the playoffs, yeah.
And if they make it, because at the beginning of the season, I thought there was no way with how bad they were playing. And so I think if they make the playoffs, I think it's a testament to what they're trying to do. And I think they won the trade if they made the playoffs. So
yeah, that's
what I see there.
Well, Micah, it's been a pleasure as always. Thank you for being on again. I know we didn't have the full crew on tonight, but thanks for filling in again.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. Anytime.
Yeah. Well, that wraps it up for tonight. I'm your host, Wellington Burns, and this has been Full Scope. See you later.